Welcome everyone to Color Commentary. We are your pauper commentators, Michael Petchik and Adrian Gonzalez. How's it going, Adrian?
Well, I've been writing a theme song, Mike. I think it should go da 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 Color Commentary.
Like Elmo's World? Is that what we're going for?
No, what? What are you even talking about? That's a completely original tune.
All right, we're here.
Mike loves his pauper.
We're here. We're a little goofy. It is episode 100. This officially marks roughly 2 years of this podcast.
But it is definitely episode 100, which is
that is true.
A feat.
Yeah, geez, I did not expect us to be sitting here 100 episodes later, still having stuff to talk about and still thoroughly enjoying this.
Mike renewed the domain today. It's big game.
Yeah, I should really just put it on auto renew, but here we are. So we are celebrating 100 episodes by doing, well, I'm not going to mince words here. We're kind of stealing an idea that Limited Resources did, but was a really, really solid idea that I enjoyed. I figured that, 100 episodes, is a good time to celebrate the podcast, where we've been, where we're going. And I kind of felt one of the best ways to do that was, again, lifting something from another podcast that I think works well. Back and forth interviews. One of us will ask a question, the other one will answer it. We have no idea what these questions are. Neither of us have shared the doc where we've written our questions down. We do have a few first at the beginning that are from fans. We will be answering those. We did not get a whole ton of them, but, there were a couple of inquiring minds out there. And then we're just going to go back and forth, asking each other questions, because I think Adrian touched on this last episode. We're good friends, but the podcast is really the reason that we're friends. We didn't know each other super well before this, and it's kind of, we've become friends over the course of these 100 odd hours of content we've produced. So,
amen.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride, but I'm glad to be here, and let's celebrate the podcast. Do you want to give our? Let's just get into the user submitted questions. All right. First off, from the Discord, user Darkfire asks us, I'd like to know what both of your favorite decks are that you've ever played in any format, not just Pauper. Adrian, what is the all-time greatest, your favorite?
Well, back when I was a wee scrub, and I've mentioned it before on this show, back in the halcyon days of Innistrad Ravnica, there was a certain mono red deck that I credit almost entirely with my desire to play more competitive Magic. It was red deck wins. It was like the Rakdos Cackler, Burning Tree Emissary, and the Lightning Mauler attack you for 6 on turn 2 deck. I mentioned it a couple times, but it's the reason I like aggro a lot now. So that deck will always be very special to me. I don't really have the depth of history that you have with the game. I really only started playing constructed formats around Return to Ravnica. So it might be a little bit boring of an answer, but I liked that deck and I had some good times with it, and I top 8'd a few tournaments with it. And people gave me a lot of crap for playing mono red because the best deck in that format was, the white blue deck with Sphinx's Rev and stuff.
Oh, yeah. That was just like a miserable thing to watch.
Well, have you ever skull cracked Sphinx's Rev? It feels great.
Ooh. Oh, so good.
What about you, Mike?
So I've thought about this for a while now, and favorite is a tricky one because there's a lot of decks that I have a lot of nostalgia for. But I think my all-time favorite deck that I've ever played is probably Legacy Nick Fit. I think that it there were options here where I could have gone with something that I remember playing back in the day, and my nostalgia pick would have been Blue Green Madness circa Odyssey block. But I think Nick Fit is the one, just because it is sort of this weird offbeat deck that gets to play a bunch of weird cards that you don't see anywhere else in Eternal formats. I just a few weeks ago was watching some matches of Legacy between rounds of Pauper, and I watched someone playing Nick Fit pop a Pernicious Deed for 8 to kill his opponent's Gristlebrand, and then the following turn, Burning Wish into Scape Shift out of the board for lethal. So
wacky.
Yeah, it is a weird deck that does things that are not typical for a legacy deck, and I think it's really, really neat. And it has a lot of customizations that can be done to it. And I think that is, you know, the archetype that I've gotten the most mileage out of, because you just get to play, for lack of a better way to phrase this, EDH trash. Like, I have played Titania, I have played Gitrog Monster. Right now there are lists running Carnage Tyrant and Regisaur Alpha. Like, you get to do some goofy things, and I really, really enjoy that. All right, so those are our favorite decks. Next question from fellow Pauper podcast, The Common Guys, via Twitter. They asked, if you guys could replace any character from a story-centric video game, a la Last of Us, Red Dead, BioShock, etc., with yourselves, which one would you and why? And I'm going to let you answer this one because I do not play many video games.
Well, I think we could maybe extrapolate this to any character. And I think I typed up another question later that sort of covers this, which is basically just like, what is a character you just strongly identify with in general, right? Like in a given media. So I think you can take that question a lot of interesting places. Mine is unequivocally, and I immediately knew the answer, Guybrush Threepwood from the Monkey Island franchise. That is my childhood hero, and I wanted to be a pirate when I grew up like him, and he's like, I don't know, I drink rum a lot now because of that guy. Like, I like solving puzzles and being quirky. Like, I don't know. That character I really, really, really relate to. And his world is also not like super messed up. You know what I mean? So it would be like an okay place for me to live. So
that is true. All the examples here are a little bit mildly dystopic. So you know.
Like I wouldn't want to live in BioShock, but Monkey Island, that's a place I could go. So okay, I'm gonna go with him based on the fact that he has qualities that I admire and the fact that his world is not some super dark place where no one really wants to live.
So going by the actual letter of the question, you know, completely as asked, I think that my answer would be Metroid, just because that is one of the video game series I've enjoyed the most. It's deeply atmospheric, and like, while that's not a great world to live in, I really like Samus as a mostly silent protagonist. So I think that would be my answer. I really, really like the Metroid series as a whole. And it's one of the few video game series that I've actually played fairly in depth. I still think Super Metroid is the best video game ever made. So
that's a hot take.
That's going to be my answer. I do honestly believe that. Like, I think it's just, for me, perfect. So
yeah, I play a lot of video games. I have not played Super Metroid.
Like, if I didn't know your deep love of Monkey Island, I would have guessed a Final Fantasy character who I don't know. But yeah, for those who aren't the two of us, while he visited me last year, Adrian played a lot of Monkey Island on his phone in between things that were happening. All right, final user submitted question from the man himself, the heel of Pauper, JSiri84 via Twitter asks, when did you guys become such elitist spikes? When was that, Adrian?
Well, JSiri84, who I totally don't know in real life, it all happened back when we started the podcast. Before that, I was a mere casual just like you. And then once I started actually playing Pauper and realizing how godlike my abilities were and how easy it was for me to just consistently 5-0 leagues and basically pull wins out of my butt, I realized that I was an elitist spike and I didn't really need to associate with casuals like yourself anymore.
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate summation. You know, over the course of the podcast, we've both gotten only more competitive. Only crushing more and more leagues.
Only more elitist and only more spiky as time has gone on. Because honestly, if you're not first, you're last. Ricky Bobby.
Yeah. And like, frankly, we're getting to that point where like we have become the black metal of Magic, in that there are none more elitist and none more spiky than us.
And none more blacker than the blackest black times infinity. We are a supermassive black hole and everything is drawn into our orbit, and you better deal with it.
All right, now we've got our user questions out of the way. And I think it's time to move on to the questions that we've prepared for one another. Adrian, would you like to start or shall I start?
I can start. I actually got a pretty good one that I think we can both answer. Might be fun. And I want to know, Mike, what got you into metal and what were some of your early influencers that gravitated you towards that genre?
All right. I actually do have a good answer for this. Growing up, I pretty much only listened to music that one of my parents liked. And my dad is huge on a bunch of like prog rock, and also very early I remember him playing what I think the self-titled and Master of Reality from Black Sabbath, and that is my introduction to metal, the at its origin point. And I feel like that basis was where I sort of entered the genre through. And over time, I kind of explored more and more weird corners of it. And I feel like as time has passed, I've actually moved away from metal and more into other related genres that sometimes borrow from metal, either aesthetically or in some cases with composition. For example, the new Ghost record is...
I was going to say, so you're a Ghost fan, huh?
Yeah, like it's ostensibly like an electronica album, right? But it borrows heavily from like some of the percussion on it, as well as the overall like use of sampling and the very sort of like how do I want to say this, like almost choral composition at times, where it's, you know, like very dark but also thematically ties in with like traditionally like Christian church music in ways, and like definitely has like an overarching theme of possession. It's literally called Possessor. But
I'm gonna make a recommendation real fast for Zeal and Ardor if you have not yet checked them out.
I think you had recommended them to me. They're like that kind of
it's basically satanic metal spirituals. I think you'd like it a lot.
Yeah. There you go. That's a very good summation of like a very, very niche sound. But yeah, I think like my entry point to that as a musical genre was definitely like growing up with my dad playing Black Sabbath in rotation.
The introduction to the genre via Black Sabbath makes a lot of sense for your current tastes as well, especially what I know of you liking Bell Witch and stuff.
Yeah,
and
like
Sleep.
Like a lot of slow, loud, heavy music. But yeah, that's my introduction. And I'm kind of curious with you because I do have one other music related question, and maybe, you know what, I'm going to ask this question and maybe this ties into your question a little bit. Because I was actually curious. Is Gwar actually your all-time bar none favorite band, or at this point have you just been trapped by your branding?
Gwar is my all-time unrestricted favorite band. For the record, I am not really a big fan of the new album, so I wonder if Dave Brockie was just my all-time favorite musician, because I like all of his side work too. And my introduction to Gwar is that actually makes sense. I'll tell you my whole story. When I was in high school, I was obsessed with Modest Mouse. I listened to Good News when I was a teenager, like maybe 12 or 13, and I was like, wow, indie rock is where it's at. And then maybe my junior year, I have an older cousin. He was visiting, and he introduced me to 3 albums. The first is Pantera's Greatest Hits. And the second I listened to the opening riff on Cowboys from Hell, I was like, what is this music? And where can I find more of it? And I listened to that over and over and over again. The other album he introduced me to was Sehnsucht by Rammstein. And that actually kicked off a very long German phase in my music listening. Like, I was listening to a lot of KMFDM, Rammstein, Megahertz, Oomph, Pig, like all sorts of stuff like that. And he introduced me to this album by this band called Skindred called oh god, what's that album even called? I think it's called Babylon. And
I remember this. The like weird, like somewhat reggae inspired like new metal.
Yeah, and they actually just came out with a new album. They're still called Big Tings. They're still doing stuff, and I still like the music. And years later, I'm still listening to those bands. Rammstein, not so much anymore. My introduction to Gwar was actually riding home with my friend from school, and I actually did not like them the first time I listened to them. Specifically, there's this one song called Go to Hell by Gwar, and that is really what kicked me off on it. And that's on an album called Beyond Hell, which is like a rock opera. And so I don't know, like that's really what got me into Gwar was that particular song. But yeah, I was not into metal until like the end of high school.
Huh. Interesting. I did not expect Modest Mouse of all things to factor into this story.
I still really like Modest Mouse for what it's worth. I still really like them. I still listen to them, but all my work playlists are all metal based now. And I've actually like really recently gotten way more into thrash specifically, which is a genre I've always really enjoyed, but didn't really explore too much. And so I get the best stuff. I get like the old school, like 86 bands like Flotsam and Jetsam. And I still get to listen to newer bands like Municipal Waste, who are still putting out albums. And then you have a bunch of classics like Metallica and Slayer and Overkill. And I don't know, there's a lot of depth to that genre that I think gets overlooked now because it's sort of like, it's just not taking it seriously as a subgenre anymore, I don't think.
I mean, Municipal Waste, I feel, is in no small part responsible for people perhaps not thinking thrash is the most serious of genres.
Dude, Municipal Waste is awesome. I love their music, and I think, Gwar might be the same way too. That Richmond sound is strong. I'm actually not a big Lamb of God fan, though. So, I'm sorry, we're getting super duper niche on this genre, I feel like, and I apologize to all the non-metal fans out there.
All right, so I asked you one. What's the next thing you got for me?
So I've somehow made two of these questions about me, and I think you'll still like them. My next question is, what's the stupidest thing I've ever said? Where you were just like, what?
So I I think it is just like, and this is actually a combo that got brought up the other day in the Discord. Every time we've made really, really bad card comparisons, every one of those I think is just like the dumbest things that we say, and I deeply love them. Like, the highlights are, last episode you referred to Fairy Macabre as Pauper Leyline of the Void. Other greatest hits include referring to Exclude as Pauper Cryptic Command. Referring to Metamorphosis in that one review where they dumped a bunch of cards onto Mitgo, we referred to that as the Pauper Birthing Pod. And also referring to Battle Screech as Pauper's Lingering Souls.
That comparison's definable.
That one is a lot closer to the mark, but all of these are like, I firmly stand by these jokes, but I do think they are the dumbest things that we've ever said. I don't think there's any one take that has been on this podcast where I've just been like, wow, what is Adrian talking about? But I definitely think those are some of the dumbest things that we've ever said on the podcast, and I love them deeply.
Well, I'm glad someone appreciates me.
All right. I have a question for you.
Yes.
What is the worst deck you have ever played in an actual, like, official event? What is the worst 75 you have brought to an event, paid entry for, and just scrubbed out with, or even did well with, but like you knew was a bad list?
Dude, that's hard. I actually don't play a lot of bad decks. So hold on, I have to think first. Oh no, I know. It's back when I first started playing. I sleeved up a red-black Rakdos aggro deck. So see, my roots run real deep. It was playing Spike Jester and Exava, the Blood Witch, or whatever she's called.
Yep.
And it's because I really just wanted to play Rakdos, and it wasn't very good. And I think I did like okay at the event. It was one of my very first like FNMs, and I think I did okay. But like looking back, like Mono Red was just the way to go in that format.
All right, that seems like a fair thing. Like I've sleeved up some bad 75s, but yeah, I can see that.
Please, Mike, we're not on the same level. Let's talk about your 75. What's the worst 75 you've played?
I think that the worst deck I have ever sleeved up was a really early incarnation of the Arcane Splice deck in Pauper. I think that is, barring like casual decks that I played when I was 10, I think that is the worst 75 I've ever sleeved up. And I stand by that. I think the deck is better with like more recent iterations of it. I know that deck is completely bugged on Moto because I think Psychic Puppetry doesn't work. But I think that is the absolute worst 75. I went 0-4 2 weeks in a row and I think I won a single game out of 8 matches. And I am not the world's best combo player, but it was never like, oh, I think there was a different line I could have taken. It was always just like, wow, this is slow and I'm not going to win this game. And I think that's the worst 75 I've ever played in an official event.
Very nice. You've definitely got me beat.
I feel like by a fairly sizable margin.
Yeah, let me pick one out of my list here. Here's a good one. What is something you know is bad but you do it anyway?
Like morally or
I guess bad is such a subjective term. I don't know, surprise me. I know what I have in mind and it's definitely physical, but like what is, I don't know. I guess it's up in the air. Like what is like something where you're like every time you do it you're like I really shouldn't be doing this, or I really shouldn't be doing this way, or something like that. I can go first if that helps.
No. I actually have one. And this is a really weird one. When I am at a restaurant, if the waiter keeps refilling my glass with water, I will drink almost a gallon of water over the course of a meal.
And the whole time you're just like, I really shouldn't, but you know what?
Like every time, I don't know what it is, but like at a long meal, I will go to the bathroom like 4 or 5 times because I just cannot, like for some reason, there's some part of my brain that just goes water in cup, put in mouth every single time. Like it's some stupid lizard brain thing that I have no control over. But if I had to pick something, it's probably that, or my inability, like when I purchase breath mints, not to eat the entire package within 24 hours.
And are you cognizant of these? Like when you pop another breath mint, are you like,
Yep.
I really should make these last longer?
Yep. Every single time I am fully aware, like, man, I am eating a lot of breath mints, but like every single time it's just like compulsive reaction. So I think those are my 2 like easy ones where it's just like, I know better, but I keep doing these things. What's yours out of curiosity?
Mine are also overindulgence related. I am not a smoker, but I used to be in college. And so now whenever I'm in like a party setting, I just crave a cigarette. And I know it's bad and I always regret smoking. I always feel like absolute. I always feel it the next day because I'm like not really a smoker. Or I'm not a smoker, but so when I do, I just like I hate myself the next day, but I do it every single time, and every time Liz is like, my girlfriend is like, you know, you surely shouldn't do that. You're just gonna be complaining of that tomorrow, and I'm like, whatever. And then the other thing is I drink like way too much caffeine, and like every time when I'm pouring my 4 o'clock 5th cup of coffee for the day, I'm like maybe I've had enough, but I can't stop.
Okay, I can see both of those.
Very typical human vices, I feel like.
Yeah. All right. What is your go-to breakfast food, with the caveat of if your answer is breakfast tacos, I want the second one?
The first one is definitely breakfast tacos, specifically migas. And that's actually on my list of things to ask you, so you can answer in a second too. Yeah, breakfast tacos, especially migas. I make extremely good migas, and I am not just saying that because I think they taste good. I recently tied for first place at a work taco contest.
Oh, huh.
So I know I make good migas. Yeah, they're my absolutely my favorite breakfast food. My second favorite breakfast food. Sorry, I'm stalling a little bit because I'm trying to think of another one here. Is almost anything egg based, really. I guess I guess if you say that migas are eggs plus whatever, I think you need the tortilla strips in there for them to be migas. But basically scrambles. I make a lot of scrambles, and I'll make them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And my go-to right now is 2 eggs, a cup of frozen hash browns, which I obviously cook, and 1 vegan field roast sausage, chorizo sausage.
All right. Huh. The consistency throughout, just like gotta
I
have
love
eggs.
eggs. I eat eat, and I guess we could really extrapolate this question a little further, and that I eat eggs on basically everything, which is maybe why I took to Tamago Gohan so fast. But burger, I want an egg. Leftover pizza, I want an egg on it the next day. Pizza eggs are awesome. Chili, I want an egg on top. Like, I eat eggs on basically everything.
Huh. All right. So if you want to know my breakfast go-to, it is always going to be in the blind. If I'm just going somewhere I've never been before, I always get French toast. I don't know why. It's something that I feel is not that difficult to screw up, but I just always go for it. And I think it's because French toast and fake maple syrup is less bad than pancakes and fake maple syrup. And
that's just not true, though. I mean, like, less bad taste wise or less bad like for you?
Taste wise, it's
okay.
It's breakfast out. Like, you're not doing that for health. You're doing it because you want to eat something tasty.
I would like to note that French toast is also made with eggs.
It is. I mean, pretty much every breakfast food is, in terms of like American diner cuisine. But yeah, I'm definitely like a French toast guy. Or actually, if I'm being honest, my favorite is a bagel with cream cheese, lox, a tomato, a little bit of red onion, and just a squeeze of lime on top of it all.
We don't really have bagel. I mean, we have bagels in Texas, but like they're Einstein Bros. So really, the culture here, for those of you not familiar with the state, is really breakfast tacos, which is probably why Mike excluded them right off the bat there.
Yep. It was very much a called shot of it's probably gonna be breakfast tacos,
and I'll eat them any time of the day. And it's always breakfast. Like, when I go to a taco place, if they don't serve breakfast, I'm probably not going back.
Fair enough. All right. What do you got for me?
All right. Let me look over some of these. Here's just one shot in the dark. Some of you might get it. Some of you won't. I don't think Mike will. Greek, Norse, or Egyptian?
Like mythology?
Yeah, sure.
I'll take Greek. I think I know the most about Greek mythology, and I do like the fact that every single Greek god is just like not good. They're all terrible people, and it's kind of you know, the Seinfeld of mythologies.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. It's a bunch of extremely attractive buff people doing nothing in particular except screwing each other over.
Yeah, just and being deeply petty. Like,
they're so petty.
Yeah, no, that's my pick, and I don't know what the reference you were aiming for is, in case you were wondering.
These are the playable factions in Age of Mythology. I don't know. That was a really deep cut, but then I was like, well, he'll tell me what his favorite mythology is, which is what really matters here. Mine personally is Norse. Really like the sea pirate aspect. Obviously, very very fond of. Well, no, I don't want to turn this into another meme. Never mind. I was gonna say I really like the dwarfs. I'm very fond of I don't know, just as like a fantasy archetype. I like dwarfs quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And like you know, they just want gold and ale, and that's like it, and they fight for it, and I'm like, yeah, I can get behind that. And then their antagonists, the Jotuns. I don't know, I just really like that relationship for some reason. But yeah, very fond of Norse mythology in particular. Egyptian is kind of hard because they're not really people, right? They're like people with animal heads. That's like the whole thing, and so it gets kind of weird.
Yeah, and actually, out of those, you know, we're one away from completing that full trio in terms of magic sets. So eventually, we're getting our Norse set.
Could you argue that Cold Snap is kind of Norsey? I guess not really.
I mean, there wasn't much of the mythology aspect of it, and like there is the plane of Kaldheim, which I believe, and I'm sure there's someone who cares a lot more about magic lore than I do, but I believe Kaldheim is supposed to be our Nordic plane.
Okay, cool.
Complete with sea serpents and all that.
Jormungandr, like your dog.
Yeah. All right. Let me look through this. All right. What skill do you wish that you had that you're actually bad at?
It's kind of a lot.
Well, pick the one that you would most like to be good at then.
Swashbuckling? No. Spanish. Going to Japan actually made me realize I'm actually better at Spanish than I thought, but I'm nowhere near the level of fluency that I wish I actually spoke the language. You know, there are members of my family I can't speak to because I don't speak Spanish, and that kind of upsets me. And I thought about learning Japanese, and then I was like, well, why don't I just learn Spanish so I can speak to my, step grandfather? That makes me feel kind of like a missed opportunity in my life learning it at an earlier age.
Okay, that's actually a pretty good answer there.
What about you?
What about me? You know what? I'm gonna go with this. I would love to be able to keep a cleaner living environment. I am like really, really bad about like just letting my living space get really messy, and
You're a filthy boy.
It's not even that it's specifically like dirty. It's just like I will leave things where I'm working on them, and like when I am, for example, like brewing magic decks, I will take over an entire table with stuff and then leave it there because I will return to it. But it's not really a great pattern for like everyone else who shares this living space with me. So
yeah,
I think that's the one thing that I know I'm bad at and would prefer to be better at, but it's just one of those things where I'm absent-minded and busy enough where like I'll just forget to like put stuff away when I'm done with it. So that would be my pick.
And I'm gonna do kind of an interesting tangent here. I read an article, and of course I can't cite it. I don't remember where I read it at even. I want to say it was Kotaku or something, where there was this poll somewhere. So obviously I'm being super scientific here, where they polled people: is it cool if someone is good at video games? And the answer was basically like, not really. So it's like I don't know. That made me think like, yeah, like if you were to go out like with a bunch of friends and you were to like meet someone, you wouldn't lead with, well, I'm actually extremely good at video games. You know what I mean?
Probably not. I mean, I don't really bring
people
up
just
like my podcast.
People just don't care. Well, the podcast, at least you're like producing something for a game that's enjoyed worldwide. But like if you're, and I mean, I guess there are certain aspects where you're like, well, I'm actually the number one holder for the speedrunner title for Mega Man X or something. Like then people might at least know what that game is. But like, if you're like, yeah, I'm actually really good at like the new God of War, I just like don't think people really care that much, you know?
Yeah, fair enough.
It's just interesting to think about, that's all. Because people care if you're good at magic, you know? I don't know. It's just weird to think about.
Yeah. All right. What do you have for us?
Do you believe in aliens?
All right. I'm going to take this question at face value. Yes, I believe that there is extraterrestrial life. No, I do not believe in little gray men in spaceships crash landing in Roswell.
I think we agree. I think we agree on that. I'm of the opinion too that the universe is too big for it. I mean, if you just go off of like random chance, I think they probably exist. I think the universe is too big for that likelihood to be absolutely zero. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just the blanket statement of, is there alien life out there? I think the answer is almost assuredly yes, just given the size and magnitude of the universe.
I guess I should clarify a little bit. I think we've proven that bacteria used to live on Mars, for example. But do you believe in intelligent extraterrestrial life? Maybe not little gray men. There's actually this short story called They're Made of Meat, where they're talking about humans. And it's not till the end of the story, sorry, spoilers, folks, that you realize they're all minerals. So it's life, but it's not life as humans perceive life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Yeah. No, that makes sense. So I think in terms of like an intelligent life form, I think your odds are slimmer, but not. It's one of those things where I want to believe. I want to believe.
I know you do, Scully.
But in all seriousness, I do believe the likelihood of intelligent life being out there somewhere is fairly high. The odds of it ever showing up here, the odds of it ever even making contact with us within the lifespan of the human race, I think are very, very scant, but I think there's something out there.
The Drake equation depresses me, Mike.
I mean, there's a lot of science that's pretty depressing.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to something more lighthearted. What do you have for us?
What is your culinary guilty pleasure? The thing that you know is like it could be like a trashy fast food place that you just adore. It could be like some weird thing that you do, and you would feel bad if someone found out about this snack that you indulge in. I'm now
gonna tell everyone about.
Yes,
French fries with mayonnaise. Yeah, I've been to Europe.
Really? That's it? That's the weirdest thing?
Dude, Mike, your family is British, right? Like, you probably don't think that's that weird. Americans think that is freaking weird, dude.
Huh. Yeah, no, I do mayo on fries as well.
Yeah, I had a feeling you did because like I said, because your mom is British, right?
Yeah.
But that is not something American people like. Which it's very strange. So I'm gonna go with that. I French fries are sort of the food where if you gave me bottomless fries, I'm probably going to die in that place. Like I'm just gonna explode right then and there. I can't stop eating them. I love French fries so much. But especially with mayonnaise or with any really cream-based sauce, I'm very fond of ranch, which I think is a little bit more palatable to most folks. But as far as like something like, I don't know, chocolate covered ants, no, not really. I don't have anything like that really. What about you?
This is one that I do once per year. I go into a McDonald's in the month of March. I order a Shamrock Shake and I order fries, and I dip the fries in that mint shake. And I know instinctively it's a weird thing that no one should like, but I really love it. It's weird, and I totally know that.
People do that with Frosties, right?
Yeah, but I feel like there's a like chocolate and vanilla. I feel like people are more forgiving of that, but the moment I bring up the fact that it's a Shamrock Shake, I feel that's where I lose people.
I like that both of ours are also French fry related.
Well, yeah, because I feel like there is a very, very specific way that most people engage with French fries, and it's ketchup. But I don't know.
Fools.
Like I'm always down to dip French fries in a milkshake, and very specifically that awful green beverage that rolls around for a month every year.
I don't think I've ever had a Shamrock Shake. I'll have to try this next March, a year from now.
If you like mint, you're good. It's artificial mint.
I'm not really into mint.
Then you probably won't like it.
What's so Irish about mint anyway?
I think
green.
I think it's just green, and pistachio's not a very like easily marketable flavor.
Wacky pistachios.
All right. What do you got for us?
Why don't you tell me the story of how you met Katrina?
Do you actually know this?
I do, but I want everyone else to know too.
The first time that I actually saw Katrina was at a punk show. I saw her, I believe, I forget any of the openers, but I know that notorious vegan straight edge band Drop Dead was playing, and I kind of wound up there by happenstance because I ran into a bunch of friends who were going to see them play, and I saw her there, and then I ran into her actually on the train coming back from an art supply store, and we somehow were connected through social media, and I asked if she wanted to hang out, and that's how we met. Actually, the place where we first met is, I want to say, 2 blocks away from where my current LGS is.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, that's the story of how we met.
And for the folks at home, did you or did you not have a foot-tall blue mohawk at this time?
I did not. I had a bunch of like really, really chunky dreadlocks at the time, I think. Yeah.
I'm thinking of maybe an older picture of you.
Yes, there are a lot of photos of me with some very, very eclectic hairstyles out there. Not always have I had the good old cue ball look.
It looks good on you.
Yeah, thank you. I like it because it means that if I ever start balding, I already know I'm going to enjoy the fact that I can just shave my head. It's a nice reassurance.
Once mine starts to go, I'm shaving. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, good call. I was going to say, I don't think I actually know how you and Liz met. So
it's
I'm
actually
curious.
The story she tells is actually really embarrassing. I'm not even 100% sure it's fit for air. So why don't I tell the whole story, and then at the end you can decide if you want to take it out in post.
If we're getting that dicey, I feel like we can. We'll leave that for the post show.
All right. Well, basically, we met in theater class, and I said to my friend, "The new girl is super cute." It was the last semester of my senior year, do you, do you think I should talk to her? My friend was like, I don't know. I was like, okay, cool. I'll go talk to her. And so we ended up having a scene together, theater kids, am I right? And through that scene, we started sort of hanging out, and then we started seeing each other.
Huh.
We were not friends first. We met in class in school, which is like a great place to meet people. So,
Interesting. I did not know this at all.
Yeah, met in theater class. Perfect theater story. We're actually officially college sweethearts. So there's a list of what constitutes college sweethearts from our school, and we're on it because we both, even though she didn't finish, she technically is an alum. I mean, alumnus, whatever the word is.
Yeah, I think it's alumnus. I think a singular is an alumnus. All right. So, are you familiar with the concept of the quote desert island discs?
Desert island discs? No.
You are stranded on a desert island. In my case, both of us really love movies. You're stranded on a desert island. You have a DVD player, and you get, let's say, between 3 and 5 movies. What movies are you picking? You get to choose.
Oh God. Can they be? I don't know. I think the first one that just jumped in my head, Spaceballs.
Okay.
I've seen Spaceballs a lot. I don't know. I'm sure eventually I get tired of it. But yeah, let's go with Spaceballs. Let's go with the original Star Wars movies.
All 3?
Yeah, all 3. And then that's how many do I get?
You get 5, so you got 1 left.
We'll go with Jurassic Park.
Okay. All right.
For when I want to mix it up a little.
All right.
What about you?
So I'm not going to go with all-time favorites, but I am going to go with things that I think are really, really rewatchable. I'm going to pick Mad Max Fury Road, John Carpenter's The Thing. I'm going to go with the original Dawn of the Dead. God, I really should get a comedy in here somewhere. Actually, I stand by really enjoying Hot Fuzz, and
it's a good movie.
It's a pretty solid one, and yeah, I'll slip one pretentious opinion in here. I'll take The Holy Mountain. I still think it's one of the best films ever made.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like one of your all-time greats. So
yeah. So not strictly my top 5, but I feel like those are the ones that I would not get tired of over time and provide enough varied experiences that I would not, go crazy. All right, what do you have for me?
Give me a one-word opinion on the format, Pauper.
A one-word opinion?
Yeah, you only get one word.
As it stands now, one word.
All right, I'll give you 2 if you're really gonna make me break it here.
I would say chaotic metagame. I feel as though, given the restriction of data when it comes to reporting for online events and the deeply varied metagame that shows up at paper events, I feel like right now we're in a period of flux where certain things are clear. For example, Gush decks are very good right now. I think Gush is one of the best cards you could be playing in Pauper, bar none. And I think that Monarch's decks are also very, very powerful. But I think outside of those as absolutes, it feels like every time I take a peek at the challenge results, we're seeing some wildly different things. So I think right now the format is going through a period of instability while it figures out how to handle these threats, because I don't think any of them have clearly presented themselves as ban targets a la Drake or Cloud of Fairies. But I do think that right now the metagame is unsure how to deal with these sort of pillar cards in an effective way that creates a more stable metagame. So I would go with chaotic.
All right.
How about you?
I knew you were going to ask me that because that's sort of what we've been doing this whole time. I guess I agree with you for the most part. Sorry, I'm just thinking through. I'm digesting what you said. The online meta doesn't seem to be as chaotic like you mentioned, but definitely the paper meta. So I think chaotic is a pretty good and succinct way of saying of describing the format when asked by someone, which is what I did. So flux was another word you said that really rung out to me.
Okay, yeah. I think we're in a period where the format is kind of trying to figure some things out, and I don't want to say it's experiencing growing pains, but to a certain extent it is with the larger spotlight that's been thrust on it, with Channel Fireball having, almost weekly pauper content, having it at their events. I feel like we're seeing an influx of people, and as a result, it's throwing off a bit of the stability of the format. And I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing, but I feel like this is potentially an entire episode in and of itself.
Yeah, I agree. What do you got for us?
All right. What is the neatest or most interesting thing that has happened as a direct result of having this podcast? Since we started the podcast, what is the neatest experience, even just like a passing thing that has happened to you as a person?
I would say the most interesting thing that's happened to me, as a direct result of the show.
Yes, as being part of this podcast.
Oh my God. I feel like I'm going to have such a lame answer. I think it's owning a playmat with my face on it.
I mean, it's we're not judging these answers. It's
like I don't know, like I've traveled for Magic, but not for the show. Which I have a feeling is going to be your answer. But I think that, yeah, just owning like the ultimate vanity of having a playmat with my face on it is probably the most interesting thing that's happened to me as a direct result of the show.
And knowing that other people own that as well.
Yes. Knowing that other people also own copies of my face that they would like for me to put my signature on is a very humbling thing, or a very inflating thing, depending on how you look at it, I guess. But
fair enough. I think for me, the neatest thing is when the handful of times where people have recognized me at Magic events and want to talk to me about the show and things that I've said on the show. Because I think that there's a tendency that when we record, and even when we look at the abstracted like view counts for our content, it's kind of a difficult thing for me to remember that those represent actual people who care about our content. I feel like it's a little weird, but for example, at my LGS, the first time I went there was for a pre-release. I knew no one there, and I think it was my second round opponent just immediately goes, "Hey, you do that podcast, right?" And I was just, well, I think he let in with, "Are you Michael Petchik?" And I was just like, "Oh no, do I know you from somewhere? Like, is this what it is?" And he's like, "I listened to your podcast," and he talked to me about it, and it was just, I don't know. It's neat to know that like we're not just sitting in rooms alone talking to one another, and it's not going anywhere, but. I think the coolest thing that I've experienced as a direct result of the podcast is realizing that people like our content and that we are in some small way positively affecting their lives. I think that's going to be my answer.
I like it. Mike with the hot takes.
I feel like that was a very tempered and reasonable take, but what's next on your list?
Have you ever danced the devil by the pale moonlight? I asked that of all my prey. I just like the sound of it.
Really? We're going for Michael Keaton era Batman references?
No, but that's a great dovetail in my next one. What's your biggest guilty pleasure in anything? We've already sort of done food, so I guess not that. But I had to.
Okay. I actually know what this is. It's bad sci-fi movies. Like I will watch if you can give me a one sentence elevator pitch that I find something of interest in, I will watch a movie. Like, and I have seen some very bad movies as a result of this that had an interesting plot premise. And I feel like that is my biggest guilty pleasure, is just watching movies that instinctively, with years of having seen a lot of movies, I know are very bad films. I'll still see them through just
and
because
enjoy
I think
them.
I will always have some level of enjoyment for these films if the premise was good and they followed through on it. Like, here you go. Here's my example. The film Daybreakers is
I love that movie, actually.
I enjoyed it as well, but I think it's far more stylish, and like the concept for those who have not seen the film is that it is a future where vampires are real, and they have in fact at this point become a majority of the population. And it has this very like cyberpunk noir sort of vibe to a lot of the aesthetics of it. And I think, like that elevator pitch of vampires represent a majority of the world's population, there are a handful of humans left.
And no more blood.
Yeah, like that was enough to make me watch that movie. And I don't think it was one of the greatest things. It does have Willem Dafoe in it, which, for me,
and
can
Ethan
carry
Hawke.
a film. Yeah, like that's actually a great thing. If Ethan
and
Hawke
Jared Leto? Question mark. Jared Leto,
Really?
I think is in it. I think he's the brother. I'll look it up while you talk about it.
Well, so like anything Ethan Hawke is in, pretty much that's sci-fi, kind of fits this niche of like, you have a cool concept. Whether or not you execute on it, I am going to sit through the whole thing, and I will derive some level of enjoyment from the world building. So I guess that's my very long-winded answer is sci-fi movies with good world building, regardless of execution, and a lot of them are not good.
Avatar fan here.
Avatar has bad world building. Please don't do this to me.
Sam Neill's in it. I can't remember who the brother is. I'm sort of in the same vein as you. I like really awful horror movies, specifically found footage films that involve paranormal presences. And I have some opinions about them. Let me tell you, they're not all equal. Some of them are okay. Some of them are really awful.
I've definitely seen found footage movies that I enjoy, but yeah, like there's some bad ones. There's some really bad ones out there. Can I ask your take on the VHS series? Because I assume you've seen those.
I like VHS quite a bit. I like the anthology aspect. I think that they do a very good job specifically of making it look like a handheld capture, which in some of the films, they don't do so good of a job because they do stuff like, this was recorded from like a wall-mounted camera or something, right? Where VHS, I think, does their found footage extremely well. And like, they don't really explain all the scenarios all the way through in all the movies. Like some of them, there's definitely multiple parts, but there's this one where like these kids go to like, I guess Mexico, and they're like skateboarding and they get attacked. And like, it's just like this very violent, graphic, 10-minute short. And it's never really explained what the heck is actually going on.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely see that. And yeah, I've watched some less than quality found footage movies myself. But yeah, I think both of us definitely have guilty pleasure, like niche genres.
Yeah.
All right. Looking through here at some of my questions. All right. Back to something magic related. What do you think the most underappreciated magic deck is? Like that gem, that diamond in the rough that no one takes the time to remember how enjoyable it was, or how how interesting a piece of design it was. Like, do you have one of those?
Yeah, I've never actually played it. Is that okay?
That's totally fine. I just want underappreciated.
Cart Clan Ironworks combo.
Huh. So I don't know much about Modern. Walk me through this. I understand it's vaguely like eggs.
Yeah, so I have to look it up too. I'm not even really sure how it works, to be quite frank with you. Basically what you do though is, and the reason I think is interesting, and maybe this is, I just haven't played it enough, so I might be talking out my butt here a little bit, but you play the titular Clark Clan Ironworks and a ton of artifacts, and each time you sacrifice it to the Ironworks, you add 2 mana to your mana pool, which you then use to, I believe, Whir of Invention in order to get whatever you want, it looks like. I'm not really sure how it wins, to be honest with you. I guess you endlessly cycle Pyrite Spellbomb and like Mere Retriever or something. Which it's kind of funny, right? Like, I don't even know how the deck really works, and I'm over here being like, I think it's underappreciated. But it's just like one of those extremely convoluted combo decks that revolves around artifacts and this, fast mana card that we don't really see a lot in the modern card frame. And so I just think it's an interesting design space, and I don't think it's like super duper good or anything, but I just think that it's interesting.
Yeah, I've definitely seen, like, I overheard last week at my LGS someone talking about how like versions of it used to like play some number of hangerback walkers, so you'd like get a bunch of mana and then you'd be able to cycle through, you dump it all into a hangerback walker and then cycle through to make more and more mana. It was like some convoluted, like, weird loop that somehow at the end of it all you wound up with more mana than you started with. But yeah, that is a neat, and I feel less so now because I think it's been winning a couple of events, but that's a solid pick. I think that works.
Do you have one for us?
Underappreciated decks. Anything that plays the Thopter Sword combo. Those are my babies. When I got back into Magic, I found out about that combo, and it's, for those who are unaware, Sword of the Meek and Thopter Foundry. Sword of the Meek, Oh, yeah, no, I do know its mana cost. It's 2 generic mana. It's an equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+2. And I don't know what the equip cost is, because the notable thing about it is if it's in the graveyard and a 1/1 enters the battlefield, it returns from your graveyard to play, equipped to that creature. And you play it with Thopter Foundry, which is a blue and a hybrid black-white. And it has the ability, 1 generic, sacrifice a non-token artifact you control, and you make a 1/1 Thopter and gain a life. So it basically means that however much mana you have, you're going to gain that much life, put that many 1/1s into play, because you sack the sword, 1/1 comes in, sword comes back. And I think that is my favorite, like, bad control win con of all time. So that is going to be my answer for my favorite, like, underappreciated deck. So I guess the most specific example that would be Legacy Tezzerator. I think that's the only deck that's ever seen any modicum of success with that combo. So that is going to be my pick.
It's a good pick. What would your ideal vacation spot be?
Whole world.
Space.
No, space is scary. Don't do that to me. I'm not going into space. I don't care what Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos want me to do. I'm not going into space. I think at the end of the day, anywhere that is, I can be in nature and have that moment where everything is silent. I have had family for all my life in New Mexico, and I really love going there and visiting. Because I've been there a lot of times over the course of my life, it's not, quite dream vacation status, but I'd like to just be somewhere I haven't been before and have it be remote enough that I can just sit somewhere and it'll be almost dead silent. So that's my pick. It's a little bit weird, but that's my dream vacation.
It's pretty you. Mine's just sitting at home watching TV, not doing a whole lot.
That's it? Not even like leaving town?
Nah, dude, I don't like to travel.
Oh, that's fair. I did know that about you.
I mean,
you do not care for planes.
I don't care for planes, trains, nor automobiles. I mean, I like being in a place, but I don't like getting to the place.
All right, that's fair enough. Like that, I'm not a fan either. If for those folks at home who have never met me or seen a picture of me, I'm a fairly tall human being. Planes are not my friends.
Mike buys the whole row. No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't do that.
I will every time I can resentfully pay extra for extra legroom, but that, yeah, it's not my favorite either. All right. What, if any, life skills have you gained as a result of playing Magic?
Networking.
Okay.
Does that count as a life skill?
I would say so. I mean, like, networking is a valuable thing in this modern era.
And to tell our folks at home why I said that, it's because the reason I have my current job, in my opinion, is because I play Magic. The reason I was able to I've been able to travel so many cool places is because I play Magic, and you just meet a lot of people playing the game, a lot of people from a lot of walks of life play, and you make real friendships. I mean, we have the show because of Magic, right? So I think that the networking possibilities are single-handedly the best skill I picked up playing the game, and that's something you can do even if you're not very good at it. You know, I mean, Magic the game itself. I mean,
yeah, I definitely agree. Like, I've definitely met a lot of people who I would consider very close friends through the game. And I do think that that's, a useful life skill in general. Definitely useful if you're in a career that benefits from having connections in that field. In terms of life skills, I actually, as many people who listen to the show will know, I'm currently in a web development boot camp. And I think that having been introduced to Magic at a young age and having to learn how complicated rule sets work, I think is something that I can directly attribute my love and skill at programming to. Just sort of from an early age being introduced to logic structures and, having to think through a series of events as they unfold, I think is something that is beneficial to be introduced to early on when it comes to stuff like programming and development. So I think that's the life skill that I definitely appreciate the most, having learned from Magic. And I think it's no real coincidence that a lot of top pros in Magic are in fields that relate to, if nothing else, numbers. But I feel like there's a decent chunk of people in Magic who have some sort of engineering or computer background, and that really has never ever surprised me to find out. Like, I'm going to be surprised when we have a Pro Tour champion who has, like, I don't know, a creative writing degree. That would be surprising to me more than, the fact that Johnny Magic works at a day trading firm. All right, what do you have for us? I think this might be our last question, so we can kind of wrap this up. But
it's gonna be a big one, Mike. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Pepsi or Coke?
Actually, neither. I don't drink soda anymore. But if I had to pick, Coke.
Me too. Good. We can still be friends.
I like that. That's a very divisive topic. But also you're in Texas. That's Coca-Cola country. I don't think.
Yeah, we're a Coke country around here.
I think I can count on one hand the number of times I saw, like, Pepsi products in a restaurant when I lived in Austin.
Yeah, they exist. They exist. There's also Main Route, which is nice too, but more expensive. There's some good stuff here. I also, like, I don't drink nearly as much soda as I used to, but I still drink a crap ton of Topo Chico, which is 100% owned by Coca-Cola now. So definitely a Coke person.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they bought it.
Topo Chico, for those who've never been in the Austin area, is a sparkling mineral water, I believe they bill themselves as.
It's Mexican bubble water.
it distinctly tastes, even though it comes in glass bottles, it always tastes like it came out of a can. It's got a distinct.
I don't agree with that.
It's got a distinct metallic undertone, and I really like it.
You can like it. I don't think it has the can taste because I don't like LaCroix.
I'm not going to correct you on any of those. I appreciated them all equally.
I'm just going to take us out of the show now.
All right.
Everyone, please, and thank you for joining us today. This podcast is brought to you by our patrons. Please consider supporting us if you like the show. And our patron for this week is Zazakon. Sorry, I had to reopen the window and scroll to where I was. So thank you, Zazakon, for supporting us. Check below this video or the description of this podcast for details on where to find us. We'd like to remind you, if you're listening to this on a platform with reviews, they're always appreciated because they boost our visibility. If you've got a deck list, an idea for a topic, feel free to contact us via our website or by emailing us directly at colorcommentary@gmail.com. Special thanks to my LGS Pat's Games and Mike's LGS JP Comics, and of course the ever musically talented L, who's been letting us use our theme song Quantitative for 2 freaking years. You can find that and other great tracks over at soundcloud.net/ELLELLELL. Till next week, this is Agent of Mike, and we are signing off for Color Commentary.